Aside from Taurean York, who's going to be the other starter at linebacker?
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of football to talk about. And the first discussion I want to have is, aside from Taurean York, who is going to start at linebacker? You know, you've got a few guys who have been on the roster who I think are depth pieces. You brought in a couple guys who from the portal who I think are going to compete for the job. And then you've got some freshmen coming in who I'm excited about for the future, but I don't see getting in this race this season. So, of course, Taurean York is a dog. He's going to be out there. He's incredible. I mean, I cannot wait to see the leap that he's going to take this year from his freshman to sophomore year. What he did last year still, to this day, amazes me. I mean, really, what he was able to do, come in and do as a freshman. And it was funny because I wasn't expecting it until we started hearing the hype. We started hearing the Taurean York hype. And then, you know, I think everybody here at Locked On Aggies got on the Taurean York hype train. So the other guys that I think could work their way into this into the starting position would be Scooby Williams or Alex Howard. Scooby Williams, of course, is familiar with Coach Bateman. They were together at Florida, last year. And Alex Howard is the transfer from Youngstown State. So, Scooby Williams reminds me, and this is going to be an interesting comparison. It's not a linebacker comparison. It's the type of player he is. He reminds me of, why am I blanking on the dude's name? The North Carolina corner from last year. This is going to drive me crazy. I got to find it now. But, basically, the reason that is, Grimes, Tony Grimes, boom, Tony Grimes. That was going to drive me insane. But the reason that he reminds me of Tony Grimes was we talked about how Grimes at North Carolina was a good player, but he didn't really live up to the hype of his recruiting, statistics at North Carolina. Of course, at Texas A&M, he literally did nothing. No, so that's not really the comparison. The comparison is that Scooby Williams was incredibly highly rated at high school. During his time at Florida, he was underwhelming. And, I think we can kind of see the same thing about Scooby Williams, except for hopefully it'll work out that I think he could kind of turn his college football career around. Of course, he's going to be with Bateman. Hopefully, Coach Elko can coach him up a little bit. I just think that you're going to see Scooby Williams hopefully take a step in the right direction. I think he's a talented football player. And I just think that, once again, I think sometimes a change of scenery in college football can do wonders. And maybe a change of scenery for Scooby Williams can be the difference. And he can be a dominant linebacker at Texas A&M. During his time at Florida, was he good? Was he great? No. Was he bad? No, I think he was fine. I don't think he missed some tackles. He had some struggles there. That's definitely a concern. But I still think that Scooby Williams has a ton of upside. and could be a good linebacker for Texas A&M. But my guy is still Alex Howard. I like Alex Howard a ton. I think he could be an incredible player. The transfer from Youngstown State, good numbers. I just like this kid. I think, and we've talked about it, I think that Alex Howard is one of, if not the most underrated transfers that Texas A&M brought in. I think he could come in. If I had to pick one of these guys we're going to discuss to be the starter, I think it's going to be Alex Howard. I don't think people are talking enough about him and how good he is. I think he's proven he can play college football. I think now the difference here, Scooby Williams has that SEC experience. Alex Howard does not. Alex Howard is going to have to get some SEC experience, which is, the getting up to speed there isn't always the easiest thing. Isn't always the easiest, but I think that going through practices, you can quickly get ready to go. Going through scrimmages, you're going against SEC talent every day for months and months and months. So I think that he can catch himself up to the speed quickly. But that is a counterpoint to Scooby Williams, is he does have SEC experience playing at Florida. I think that during his time at Florida, he did, there were some flashes, there were some things he did well, but all in all, it definitely wasn't up to what many wanted or expected from him. And then you've also got, Chance Johnson and Martel Harris. I mean, could one of those guys sneak in and work their way into this job? Maybe. I'm not going to sit here and say there's no chance that happens. I just have a feeling these guys aren't going to – I think there's just Jernigan and Lockhart, Tristan Jernigan and Jordan Lockhart, the freshmen, who I talked to a minute ago, could potentially overtake these guys on the depth chart. And if that happens, you could see him hit the portal, just because, once again, that is one thing. Unless you just love being somewhere, which, some players are like that. Some players just love being where they are, and they're not really concerned about the depth chart and stuff like that. But unless you're one of those guys, if freshmen or guys younger than you are overtaking you on the roster, it might be time to make a move, because clearly if someone younger than you is hiring you in the depth chart, you are in trouble. So, and let me know that in the comments, y'all, if Johnson or Harris, Chance Johnson or Marshall Harris is someone that you all could see sneaking in to the starting lineup or somehow. Let me know. I don't see that happening. So I think Scooby Williams or Alex Howard is going to be your other linebacker. And then I have a feeling, and then Tristan Jernigan, if there's going to be a Taurean York-esque player this season, it is going to be Tristan Jernigan. I think he is an incredible talent. Saban was recruiting him before he decided to call it a career. So, Alabama saw something in him. Texas A&M was able to hold on. I think that Tristan Jernigan is going to be a star. Might not be this year, but I still, if I had to guess right now, I would say the starter is going to be either Scooby Williams or Alex Howard, and I lean Alex Howard. But if Scooby Williams can turn things around and prove some stuff and maybe show, hey, I'm going to turn my career around here at Texas A&M, then maybe he could sneak into the room or to the starting lineup, knowing that he knows this defense, he knows what Coach Bateman's going to want to do. So that's going to be interesting. This is a position battle that's going to be fun to watch and will be very interesting, because it could go a million different ways. But I do think Texas A&M has solid depth at the linebacker position. But I do think that if one of these, Johnson and Harris, were to leave, you would be in a tough spot. And that's where we talk about, okay, what are we going to do in the portal at this position? That's going to be a conversation actually for segment 3. But first, I want to talk a little bit about where Coach Elko ranks among SEC coaches. It really surprised me in a positive way. We'll have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Nissan. This week's March Madness Bracket Highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of all of the new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. The Oregon Ducks are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. The team absolutely surprised us all with the powerful performance in the final Pac-12 tournament, punching their ticket to the big dance. The way they say win life, go rogue. That's exactly what the Ducks have done here. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com today. I also want to tell you about our friends over at Amazon Fire. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or a college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date with all of the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. So On3 put out a list of their top. They ranked the 16 SEC coaches. It's still so weird saying 16. It just takes getting used to the whole 16 SEC teams. But they ranked the SEC coaches, and I was really surprised where Coach Elko was. There were a few names he was on top of that I was like, man, I was not expecting that. So let's run through the list. Kirby Smart at 1, Brian Kelly at 2, Kalen DeBoer at 3, Steve Sarkisian at 4, Lane Kiffin at 5, Josh Heupel at 6, Eli Drinkwitz at 7, Mark Stoops at 8, Mike Elko at 9, Hugh Freeze at 10, Brett Venables at 11, Shane Beamer at 12, Billy Napier at 13, Sam Pittman at 14, Clark Lee at 15, and then Levy over Mississippi State at 16. So I think what was surprising here to me was being ahead of Hugh Freeze, Venables, and in all honesty, Beamer. I mean, these are all three coaches I wouldn't have been surprised to see Elko behind. And the whole Stoops thing, that's another conversation. Stoops, I think what he's done at Kentucky's been impressive. It's, recruiting at Kentucky is impossible because, it's just a weird area. And I think Mark Stoops done a good job there, but I just don't. He's kind of, he's hit this, okay, we're going to win 7 games every year, 8 games every year, which for Kentucky, they'll take that because they've never been good at football. But I just don't. I think the ceiling for Elko was much higher. The floor is probably safer for Stoops, but the ceiling is much higher for Elko. And the Hugh Freeze is what surprised me. People seem to love Hugh Freeze. I really figured you would see Hugh Freeze above Mike Elko on this list. Hugh Freeze, he's recruiting well. He's bringing in players, and people are trying to get hyped up about him and Auburn and what's going on there. And Venables over Oklahoma. This one's interesting. I mean, once again, another guy I still would have expected to see above Coach Elko. But I think what this says, and we'll get more into some coaches, Beamer, I think you could have him above Elko, and I wouldn't have been crazy surprised. I do think Elko is a better football coach, and he's going to have his Texas A&M program at a way better spot than South Carolina. But I still think it's just an interesting place to have him. So, I kind of look at this and I say, I think this is just they're paying respect to Elko. And the reason I say that is because he, has come in and is how many months this has been now, 3 months it's been. All he has done is do things well. I mean, really, I think that Coach Elko is doing an incredible job so far. And I've said it here on the show. Y'all know that, listen, are you every day or show Locked On Aggies? I have, during the coaching search, I wasn't pro Elko. I was pro, there were some other names I wanted. I wanted DeBoer. It wasn't likely, but, wanted DeBoer, wanted some of these other names. And it ended up being Elko. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens here. We're gonna see what happens. And I think Elko's been incredible. I was wrong. I was wrong. Now, we still got to see it on the football field. But Coach Elko, in my opinion, has done an incredible job so far. I think what he did in the portal was great. You get so frustrated with the portal when your staff's just like, well, we have some positions of need, but let's just not fill them, because who needs to do that? Coach Elko knew what he needed, and he went and got it. He needed players in the secondary, went and got a ton of them. Needed a couple linebackers, went and got a ton of them. Needed a few offensive linemen, went and got some. He filled the positions of need with the portal. I was so impressed by that. I think that he did a really good job closing out the recruiting class, holding on to a Terry Bussey, holding on to a Jernigan, going and getting a few talented, what did they brought in 4 or 5 players that weren't committed. So, I mean, I think Elko did an incredible job bringing in that talent at the end of the recruiting class that we weren't confident in. I thought that recruiting class was going to slip further down the list than it did, because Coach Elko came in and did an incredible job. And then I think during his time at Duke, he proved, hey, I can do this X's and O's. I can make these decisions. I still think Coach Fisher last year and during his time at Texas A&M, there was time and time again he would make a decision that I would just shake my head. I would go, what, are you kidding me? Like, why is he doing that? Why are we not going to try and get 3 points here? Why are we kneeing it and going to the half? Why are we doing this? There were a lot of decisions like that with Coach Fisher. And I mean, watching Coach Elko's Duke team play many, many times, I think he made a lot of those good coaching decisions that can be the difference in winning and losing football games. So I do think that Coach Elko is going to have an extremely successful tenure at Texas A&M. We've talked about the standard at Texas A&M should be competing for national championships, and it hasn't been with under Coach Fisher like everyone thought it would be and everyone hoped it would be. I think that Coach Elko is going to turn that around, and that's just a gut feeling. That's just, and maybe is it hope potentially, but everything he's done, he has done the right way. Everything he's done, he's built a roster that can succeed this season. He has done everything, seriously, everything the right way when it comes to getting this team ready for next year. I think he did an incredible job bringing in a staff around him that can succeed. I think the hire of Coach Klein was an incredible hire. I know there were some hires that some folks don't love, but I think that I love the Holloman Wiggins. I love the receivers coach hire. I think he made Coach Moffitt to strength and conditioning. I think Coach Elko did an incredible job when it came to hiring his staff. I think he did an incredible job finishing the recruiting class and the transfer portal. Coach Elko has done a lot well. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with his program. So I think having him ranked at 9, it might seem like that. Some might say, that's way too high. I think that is a really good spot to have him. He's done a good job. He's proven he can coach in this league, and I think that you're going to see Coach Elko really do something special during his time coaching at Texas A&M. So I wanted to have a quick conversation about, and it's a conversation we've had before. I wanted to have it quick at the end of the show here to kind of see where our heads are at on this. And I want you to let me know in the comments. But are there any positions that we don't feel good about? We don't think we have enough. We might need more. We're going to talk about that and talk about what we might need in the portal, what we might lose in the portal. We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on big upsets or a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. FanDuel is the best place to go bet on college hoops. I can't wait for March Madness. The Aggies are dancing. Are they going to take down Nebraska? People like the Aggies, ladies and gentlemen. People like the Aggies. I've had a lot of – I was at the YMCA last night and talked to somebody. I got a weird feeling about Texas A&M. I think they can make a run. People like this team. People like this team. We've played Houston. If you get past Nebraska, I think this Texas A&M team is going to give Houston all they can handle. So if you want to bet on the Aggies to win it all or get out of their region, then go do it at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go check them out, ladies and gentlemen. So I just wanted to have this conversation real quick because I think it will be relevant in a few months. And I kind of wanted to see where my head's at and see where y'all's heads are at. So are there any position groups that we don't feel good about heading into next season? And does Coach Elko need to go get players at this position or this position? I think that offensive line is the one position that for sure I think that we might end up needing another guy. And the good news is going to get an offensive lineman, a grad transfer, whatever it is, it's not going to be hard to go get another offensive lineman after the portal ends or after, when the portal opens back up. It's not going to be hard to go get another offensive lineman. And I think that this roster, I feel okay about the offensive line, but it's just going to be, hey, who shows up? And I think Coach Elko, he made it very clear with the secondary. He's not here. He's here to put together the best roster he can. And if this offensive line just doesn't play like it needs to, Coach Elko is going to replace some players with some new offensive linemen. So I guess the point here is offensive line is the #1 position for me. I do think that you're going to see Texas A&M go get another offensive lineman or two in the next portal window, just because I don't think that's the only thing I think Coach Elko, I think he could have brought in another offensive lineman or two in the last portal window. But if maybe his head was like, okay, let's see what we got and then go get somebody in the next window. There's going to be a couple good offensive linemen in the next window you could go get. So maybe that was where his head was at. He was, kind of fighting over roster spots. Who do we got? We don't, you don't have a million spots. You got to, kind of be smart with your roster spots. So that could have been part of it. So offensive line, the next possession I've got, and I have two that are kind of like question marks. Like offensive line, I feel like we definitely will need a guy or two. But wide receiver, maybe. I feel good about your top three guys. And then I feel good about, Jabri Barber. I feel good about some of the young guys. I feel good about Tees. I feel good about the players you got coming in. But do you maybe need another veteran rental, a guy who comes in for 1 year? Do you need something like that? I'm not saying you for sure need a guy like that. But it wouldn't surprise me all that much if they went and got one more receiver. That'd be a position where I think you could be fine without it, but I think I wouldn't be incredibly surprised if they brought in a receiver. And then linebacker as well. I mean, once again, the two guys we talked about, you could see if Jernigan or Lockhart takes over that spot, could you see one of those guys hit the road? And I think that, you've got a lot of young, talented linebackers. York's going to be around for a while. You got Jernigan and Lockhart here. You've got some linebackers. You got some linebackers committed for the 2025 class. So the linebacker position is in a good spot for a long time. I'm not like too terribly concerned about needing a linebacker. I just think it's a position that you could see guys leave because you have so much young talent that the young talent might overtake some of the older guys. And if that happens, the older guys might say, ooh, I need to go find a new home. So I think linebacker is probably the last position that I feel like that about. I mean, I feel good at quarterback. I feel good at running back. I feel good at tight end. I feel good all across the defensive line. I feel good in the secondary. I think that there you've got everything you need. So I think these are the positions that you might maybe want to go get. And I'm not talking 5 guys, 6 guys. I'm talking one player. So, you're going to have guys leave in the portal after what happens in spring. That's just a reality. So the question is, what is going to happen after spring? And I think that's where we're going to see who all leaves and then who you bring in. I think it'll be a couple of guys. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. I really, really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day today. Getting excited for March Madness, more Aggie baseball, a lot of fun stuff coming up. Have a great rest of your day today, and we will see you tomorrow.